Mr. Scott. Thank you so
Hi.
much for coming in.
Thank you for having me.
I'm Miss Fitzpatrick, Excel's teacher.
Nice to meet you.
Nice to finally meet you as well. So, some things I want to talk about today. First of all, let's start with some of Excel's strengths. She's very hardworking. She always asks for extra help when she needs it and does her absolute best on her every lesson and every subject, and I really appreciate that. Also, she's very enthusiastic about learning. She's always willing to put her best foot forward. She gets excited about lessons. She never dreads taking out her textbook or doing homework. She looks forward to those things, and that's very nice as well. Lastly, she's super helpful. She's always willing to be my door holder, help me pass out papers, help me grade things, and it's just very nice and refreshing to see a young student who still has those values. So I thank you for that. Some things I want to talk about today is some assessments that I did with Excel to test her literacy. We've been working on literacy this entire year, and it's something she'll continue to work on through her life, especially as an ELL student. It is very important that she works hard on her literacy, and she's done just that. So I'll start with some assessments we've done. So some areas where she really succeeded. First off, we did what's called a story map. So this tests the student's comprehension. It's used to assess the levels of understanding of what they have currently just read. So what we did was we read a story out loud, and then I gave her the story map to fill in as much as she possibly could of details that she remembered. She did very well and remembered almost every aspect of the story. Just for comparison, there are some students who struggle with comprehension who can't even remember the main character's name. So she did a very excellent job in this category. I was super impressed with her. Some things I'm going to work with her in class to just strengthen this even more and get her even more ahead of the game is to ask her to write out details for me after every piece we read, just to keep her mind fresh and active after we read and make sure she's fully comprehending the story as opposed to just reading words on a page. If you wouldn't mind for me, some things that you could do at home is just engage her while she's reading, ask her what she's reading about, who the characters are, what the story is, just to see that she's truly comprehending the information and that it's something that she really understands. Let me scroll down here and look at my second assessment results. So the next area that Excel did very well in was vocabulary. She has a very strong sense of vocabulary, especially for a student whose second language is English. She's doing better than most of the other students in class. She's very ahead of the game. So one thing we did was called the word meaning test. It assesses a student's vocabulary to see if they're on grade level. She was able to define all of the 5th grade words besides one. So that's an excellent job. She's definitely above a lot of her classmates. Some of the things I'm going to do to continue to support her in class and make sure she does better on this is to work with books that are maybe above grade level. So they'll be introducing some new vocabulary that maybe she hasn't seen before that she could work on. I think that would be really helpful for her. Also, if you wouldn't mind at home, I would love if you would practice some of the vocabulary flashcards I send home with her. We do a different stack every week. And if you could just practice some of those words with her aloud, get her reading them, memorizing the definitions, and truly understanding what they mean, that would be very helpful for me. Next thing. So some areas of growth where Excel needs a little bit of work. By no means are these things bad. It's she did very well overall. It's just some things that we could use to work on to progress her to the next level. So one thing is her phonics. A test we did to test her phonics was called the primary spelling inventory. This test assesses students' levels of phonics based off how they spell. So on this assessment, Excel scored a 16 out of 25. So by no means did she do terrible, but she wasn't quite up to where her grade level could be. And again, that's sort of just English as a second language. It's a little bit harder for her to keep up, but she is very hardworking and doing her best to do so. So I appreciate that. In class, one thing specifically we're going to work on is her long vowel words. Long vowel sounds, I'm sorry. So words such as book, moose, things like that. She kind of is shortening them and saying bok.
Oh, wow.
Things like that.
Okay.
When she reads aloud, I'm not sure how it's happening in her head, but that's how she's reading aloud. So we need to look into that, work on the long vowel sounds, and practice some of that. If you could encourage her at home while she's reading aloud to really slow down and sound out every word, every letter, I think that would really help her in the long run. A lot of the time she is rushing through her reading, but it's not a big deal. It's something we can definitely fix and continue to work on. And the next thing she had a little bit of trouble with was her fluency. So to test this, we did the San Diego Quick Assessment, which asked students to read a bunch of different words out loud and sees how fluent they are, so if they can go through the words without making a mistake or without errors. So on this test, she did very well. She got a 7 out of 10. So not at all terrible, nothing to be worried about, just something we could work on. So in class, I'm going to focus her again on slowing her reading down and reading the words carefully to make less mistakes as she's doing a loud reading. One thing you could do at home that would be really great, if you have any younger children, maybe encourage itself to read aloud to them or to read aloud to you. It would just be very helpful if she had that practice with her fluency skills. So I do have a couple questions for you. How often would you say that you see itself reading at home?
Well, I think she definitely does the reading every day because that's what you require, the 20 minutes of reading per day. I never see her really go further than that. So just the 20 minutes of reading per day.
Well, it's great to hear that she's doing that. I would appreciate maybe spend a little extra time reading loud. If you do have the time, I think it would be really beneficial for her. Do you work with her on reading often?
To be honest, no, I don't. Just because I know I have a lot more kids, and all of them need help with their homework and stuff, and then I work a lot. So I would like to spend more time helping her read, and then also she doesn't get a lot of opportunities to read aloud. A lot of them she's just reading by herself.
Okay, one thing that could be really useful for her would be to read aloud to some of her other siblings, maybe younger children, who would appreciate that. It doesn't matter if they can correct her or not. It's just very good practice for her to do. Do you have any questions for me?
Yeah, because it's kind of a hard balance, because I know one of your guys' thing is for them to read a certain amount of words per minute. So then I've noticed that she does try to rush, but then now that you're saying slow it down and process it more, that's something interesting, just to keep a balance of that. So what would you say that I should focus more on?
One thing I think you should focus on, it's not important that she reads a certain number of words per minute. What's important to me is that she understands what she's reading and she's reading fluently. So we can focus on that goal later, the words per minute, but for now, we just want her to be able to read fluently and fully comprehend what she is reading. So it'd be best to do that. We have a full library with a lot of books that I know Itzel is very interested in reading.
Do you have any book recommendations?
Yeah, she loves the Junie B. Jones stories, Cam Jansen stories, just stories about other young girls her age is what she seems to really enjoy, and she's been doing wonderful with that. So if you could just keep that up and encourage her to keep reading, that would be wonderful for me.
Okay, for sure.
Thank you so much for meeting with me. It was lovely.
Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you too, Mr. Scott.